This is Walter Cronkite, CBS News, in our newsroom. This morning, there has been an attempt, as perhaps you know now, on the life of President Kennedy. He was wounded in an automobile driving from Dallas Airport into downtown Dallas. He has been taken to Parkland Hospital, where his condition is as yet unknown. This is Walter Cronkite back at the CBS newsroom in New York. We have just been advised from Dallas that blood transfusions are being given to President Kennedy. In Dallas operating room, we do not know what his condition is, but the report is that the president is dead. This is not confirmed. This is something that word just came to us a minute ago. The word we have is that President Kennedy is dead. This we do not know for a fact, but the word we have is that he is dead.
Where do we go from here? Where do we turn to? This is the feeling that we have, hopelessness at this moment.
This apparently just in, Dallas, Texas. Flash apparently official, President Kennedy died at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, some 38 minutes ago. Vice President Johnson has left the hospital in Dallas. But we do not know to where he is proceeded. Presumably, he will be taking the oath of office shortly and become the 36th President of the United States.
It was like a tsunami building up where the waters were crossing the whole United States, where everybody suddenly stopped what they were doing that afternoon in the United States, and it was carrying throughout the whole country, where everything came to a stop because everybody was in shock. And no matter what job they were doing or where they were located, they were all motionless in thought, in movement, and we didn't know where to turn or what was going to happen next. And it was like all of a sudden all the innocence was gone, and all there is today is maturity.
I was 5 when President John Kennedy was assassinated, and it's a long time ago, but I remember it like it was yesterday. I used to go to school right across the street from where I lived, and when school was over, I came home and I walked into my house and I found my mom sitting there just sobbing, and I immediately was concerned. Even as a little child, I thought, what's wrong with Mom? And of course I asked her right away, and I thought maybe she wasn't feeling good or something along that line. She said, no, Karen, the president is dead. And she continued sobbing, and I immediately began to cry myself. And somehow, even in that childlike way, I knew something awful, something terrible had happened. I remember sitting watching the news with my parents, and there was a reporter on. His name, I would find out later, was Walter Cronkite. And I watched him, even though I was a child, I watched him, and as he spoke the words that President Kennedy was dead, he took his glasses off and he tried to get breath and hold back the tears, and we just sat there as a family and cried. And I know the whole nation cried. It was like the whole world was in mourning. And the whole world seemed to know, as we did as Americans, that we had lost a special man, a special leader, a special president. And it did change America. I believe until that point, we were a nation that had never experienced such a horrible, horrendous murder and tragedy. And it was almost as if the innocence of a child had ended that day.
The expressions of sorrow have, of course, come from all segments of our population. Martin Luther King, the leader of the integrationist movement, and was interviewed earlier today.
Dr. King, how did the news reach you today?
Well, I was having a conversation with one of the members of my congregation today, and in the midst of the conversation, she said, "I've got the news that President Kennedy was shot," and I told her I would call her back. That's when I got the news.
What was your first reaction when you heard the news?
Well, I was very shocked in the beginning, and I was very upset, and I couldn't hardly believe that he had died. I was very concerned with the possibility that he may be alive, even though they haven't thought of or had a confirmation that he was dead. And it was very shocking and upsetting.
Thank you, Dr. King.
In 3 short years of his presidency, he left an indelible mark on his country and on the world. For us in Britain, his loss was a deep and sad one because he was the most loyal and faithful of allies. Tonight, I fear that there is no comfort that I can bring to the American people, nor indeed to ourselves, nor indeed to men anywhere who care about tolerance, liberty, and justice and peace. And lesson be this, the dreadful deed to shock us all, to dedicate ourselves anew to those things which he liked, loved, and worked during his life. Thank you.
About all that could happen on one day has. For some final reflection on one of the more horrible days in American history, you find there is a great deal that could be said about the political power and other changes we look forward to now. But I think it'd be a bad taste to go into that mouth, and I won't. It has all been shocking. By the Washington clock, at a little after 1 o'clock this afternoon, President Kennedy was alive as any human being ever gets. Young, strong, vigorous, looking forward to, no doubt, 5 more years, he hoped, of leadership in this country and of the Western world. There is no more news tonight, and really no more to say, except that what has happened today has just been too much, too ugly, and too fast.
So, as I look at things today, in the month of April 2015, what does this country and world need today? It needs that same innocence and romantic atmosphere. We need love. We need to bring back the Lord into our society, into the schools, into the home. We need a godly president, a young president that's energetic and handsome and is a good speaker, but he has the Lord in the center of his heart and he expresses that throughout the world. That's what we need. That's where we need to get back to in our innocence. A godly innocence is what's required today, not only in government, but in the family. And that's the way I see it in 2015.
Tonight, there will be a few Americans who will go to bed without carrying with them that sense that somehow they have failed. And in the search of our conscience, we find a new dedication to the American concepts that broke new political, sectional, religious, and racial divisions. It may be yet possible to say that John Fitzgerald Kennedy did not die in vain. That's the way it is, Monday, November 25th, 1963. This is Walter Cronkite. Good night.